So I've talked about who I am. Now, what am I? What is this thing? How's this work? And I'm going to describe it in three main areas of in three main areas as sort of the root, the gut, and the base. And as I've said, the spirit or soul is connected into the base. I'm just gonna, I know it's a gross, way gross oversimplification and not accurate, but hear me through. I think you'll sort of get to why I state that. So the soul rests right here, and it's got the blueprint of what your spirit has sort of written as your plan and script through this incarnation. We all have one. There's again another reason that you can't judge others. There are two universal laws. Don't send anybody further back on their path, and do no harm. The third one, I'm not going to make as a universal law, but it's the eighth Hermetic principle by Mark Passio, and that is, you'll do what you care about. So it's what you care about that will sort of define who you are, where you are, and what you are. I love that. Anyway, back into this carbon form. This is where your care really should be. This is where everything should reside. This should be the driver inside of you. So I'm going to call that the root. Then we're going to move up, and I'm going to call this the intuition. And I liken that as, we'll get there because it's actually what it's called, is where the wisdom lies. Of here you have this unbridled drive. It's not unbridled, but it's a fire, and it's ready to go at all the time. And so we've got now then this wisdom that has sort of the ground rules and the ability to sort of navigate all that power so that it's appropriate. That's the best I can describe it. And so when I get into talking about the tetrahedron and triangulation, you'll see why these three centers make sense, and how this intuition, which I call gut, turned into wisdom. Down here turned into energy, and then believe it or not, what I'm going to get into next, heart, is actually vibration. But anyway, so that's where the intuition lies. Then we have the heart. Now the heart is centered in love. Love is a wonderful thing because it's based on balance. So the heart, the centered heart, is based on being in balance. It means if for us in this reality, it means being available to don't break the universal laws. And even Marx, it's what you care about. And so I'm going to give you an example of my 25-year-old daughter that, again, I'm going to get into triangulation and not the routine, but the honoring that I do. And she's part of that space, as is Jenny Deanna. but in sort of that space, she's labeled from the higher form as wisdom, which makes perfect sense. Anyway, I digress just a little bit, but I need to explain it a bit because it's in her core of this idea that she comes into this reality at just a less contaminated human form. She gets to take care of 3 children for the agency that she's a model for, of one of the owners of the agency, and she loves these kids. And I mean, and they are the most awesome kids. They're a kick in the pants. And so, but 3 very different, very unique, just amazing. And the way she handles and works with all 3 of them in their, whatever it is, however they're built, she recognizes it. She doesn't let them get away with things. She uses opportunities as teaching opportunities. She uses every opportunity she can to engage with them and have them be motivated and excited about what they're doing, even at that point in time. And anyway, because that's who she is. And so she approaches everything she does, actually with her heart, very balanced, where she can take on most people 2-3 times her age from a logic standpoint. If there were a circumstance, let's say, take place anywhere in an event, somebody got hurt, or I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's an accident or if something was done on purpose or something was, needed some type of a reaction. She's the one that's probably the most level and is able to sense things and walk in and look at things differently. And so when she's handling these kids and things go like really off the rails, like something, a few things have happened that have just been like, sort of not tragic, but pretty tough for some kids. Like playground stuff and all this, and even other stuff, bigger stuff like the bullying stuff and all that. And she just takes these opportunities to provide whatever she can from this heart space to, be available for these ones. So the heart means that we live this reality in this balance, that we're mindful of universal laws. We realize that we're a unique aspect of something. You also realize that you're very powerful. Otherwise, you wouldn't have a big heart. Does that make sense? People who have big hearts aren't weak. So, it just means that you're very in that space. Maybe too much so. When we get into this idea at the end of the tetrahedron, it could be that you're too much in that space and that you're shutting out, the will, so you're not doing as much as you should be, contributing to as much as you should be. So what am I? I am these 3 energy centers. Now we have also this computer up here, and I'm going to call it the ego and brain. And I'm going to connect my higher self, my spirit's going to come right through the top of my head, right through the top, like a column, right through my spine, and goes right down through, all the way through, and lands right at my base, right? Because that's where it's feeding. That's where the connection to the soul is. And so, when we're born, the drive on the brain, what it does is it fills from the outside in and it closes in. And so anyway, when you're born, that hard drive is meant to, because we are an animal. We are a very intelligent species, but we are an animal. So we do have an ego for a reason. And that it is to keep us safe in this environment. So this ego is this drive, and it's getting written on, but what should be getting written on is as we grow of age and we're thrown out of the nest, right? Or, those things that we learn certain skills, and we're aware of this environment, and we add to the human side of this experience from the standpoint of, it's particularly to keep yourself aware and awake and be able to read the environment, be able to take in information and make, in some cases, human, from a higher perspective, but a human decision or a human directive or whatever those are, right? A human rule, it could be that, that, you don't, there's certain people you stay away from, or certain parts of the town you don't go into, or whatever that is, And so it's supposed to be for that. But it also can be to override your higher light coming in and choking that down, therefore sort of dimming your light. And that's when we get into doing things that we shouldn't, lying, then cheating and stealing and robbing and murdering and bombing and it just goes on and on, right? And somehow we can all justify these things mainly by the lies, actually not mainly, simply by the lies that we tell ourselves. So when we're fully open and honest with ourselves, we're unable to lie about anything. However, if you were to look at our world where we are today, it's pretty much based on lies. Everything's lies. That's why I'm doing this little series, because there's nothing masking this at all. There's no intended purpose other than I'm hoping that it touches a few people and that it helps you experience your higher self and be able to breathe. So we have this ego thing that is meant to keep us safe, and it does help provide sort of decoding for this reality. So it provides a very important role and function. That said, we do write on top of it a lot. The judgment and the adding of the new rules of what's appropriate and what's not. I love when people say two things. I love these, but as long as what somebody else does, as long as I don't do worse than that, then I'm okay, right? I love that one. I think I might have used that before. I think twice. If I can remember back in my, I think it was twice. Yeah, I was going to say there was 3 times, but it was only twice. And then. So we end up closing off this light. We end up secluding our spirit, our soul. It becomes dormant. I'm going to tell you this story, and this is a true story. I don't tell you any other but true stories. But anyway, I was doing a ceremony, and it was this beautiful ranch. And I can't remember if it was ayahuasca or psilocybin that evening, but I spent a great deal of time in the bathroom, and and it became my place. There were 2 reasons. This is just truth. I mean, you can say, well, yeah, you're on a psychedelic, of course. Okay, I mean, I can say that. I can also tell you that yes, I am on a psychedelic, but I'm aware and awake as to that I'm on a psychedelic. Does that make sense? And what's happening versus reality. And I'm here to learn. And every time it was always done with, in ceremony, it was always done with great intention and purpose. This was never a recreational exercise for me. Never, ever, 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 ever. It was always done very deliberate, very ceremonially, and then always with the intent of putting into practice whatever I learned, because that was my work until the next time. And so, anyway, in the bathroom, there were two places for me. One was in the mirror, because I stared at myself a lot, and I can't tell you all the things that I would see and not see. And it was just an amazing, it was a way for me to connect, so hours, but also a lot of throwing up, not much. It was mainly just spitting up, and it was interesting. That was my way of purging the knowings. Now, the original ayahuasca trips I had done in Peru gave me essentially a clean slate. Now I needed to learn and grow and sort of unprogram. I didn't do that. And I needed to sort of unprogram biases and unrewrite. What this did is this cleaned up my heart and my soul, and it cleaned all this up. I had to work on this. The medicine did not work on. It doesn't rewrite your hard drive. That's where the work comes in. I don't think people quite understand it. They always wonder why they go do something like that. They feel great for like a week, but then they're right back at it, doing what they had just done before. Or they're constantly going into medicine, constantly, to try to stay connected or be connected. I was like, well, you're not learning or growing. So anyway, so the idea is that you practice very diligently what you learn. You write it down, you internalize. So in this one, and so the spitting up, throwing up on occasion would be old information, bad stuff, unknowings to do, whatever it was. It makes sense, just energy getting out of me. It was amazing. Anyway, I am in the upstairs bathroom and I am challenging my ego. I've decided that I want to let go of ego. Again, the hard drive, the computer, the brain. And I remember looking at the toilet, probably on my knees, or it might have been sitting. Again, I'd be there quite a lot. And I remember my higher self, or whatever spirit, my higher self, said, "Do you really want the ego to go away?" And I said, "Yes, I want to dissolve my ego." I said, "Are you sure you want to dissolve your ego?" I said, "Yes." And it said, "All this will go away." And I said, "That's fine. Let it all go away." And I remember just debating back and forth with my ego over, and this had to seem like an hour. It could have very well been an hour. I go downstairs, and there's a kitchen, and the people who run the retreat, they're there, and they're always fixing food and always aware, and sometimes they're talking to people. And this was, several hours into the evening, so it was not at the end, but certainly near a point where it was time to sort of pull out of it and think about it. So I'm downstairs and speaking to those few people and going over a bit about the experience and the ego and I can't remember the guy's name. He came in. He was an Indian from India, and I don't say that out of any other thing other than the intensity. If you've ever think about an Indian person that's sort of pissed, but in a very just an intense way, not in a mean-spirited way. Anyway, he comes into the kitchen and he's just got this fire in his eyes, and his eyes are just really white. And he said, "Who was upstairs in the bathroom?" And I'm just looking around, and it's like, And before I could raise my hand, and I'm not kidding you, he said, I had to hold space so you wouldn't come through the floor. Who was up there? And then he just looked into the four of us that were there and then just turned around and walked out and went back, laid down. I am not kidding, that is exactly what happened. And I'm sitting there talking to the people, and I said, and I don't think we had gone full circle about what had just happened. So I don't think I got to the full of what I was trying to do. So I said, but they knew far enough where I was getting to that, and they knew where I was. So anyway, so what's come to me since then is that we don't dissolve the ego. There's a healthy ego. We need the ego. It's what keeps things going. So you need the ego. Be grateful for the ego. Just keep it healthy. Just keep it healthy. Yeah. Healthy, wealthy, and wise. Now, healthy it just means, don't contaminate yourself. Wealthy, give it stuff to do. The ego loves being aware now. So give it opportunities to be aware. Loves being outside. I'm telling you, our natural state is to be outside. We need to write ourselves back into nature. W-R-I-T-E. We need to write ourselves back into nature. And the ego loves to be in nature because it loves to be aware and learn and see and keep you safe and keep you aware of everything around you. But it loves to experience all that. It breathes. And it gets it in sync. Yes, I understand it's an earthly, quote unquote, computer, but it's electricity and energy just like everything else. And frequency and vibration and all kinds of stuff. And then all the elements. So it's important. So that's the best that I can describe of what I am. From the ego down through the heart, down through the gut and the intuition, down into the fire in the belly, and by the way, that's where our organs are located. So it makes sense. We are animals, by the way. We're very intelligent animals, but we are animals. Very sophisticated animals. I can't think of anything else, and so it's me as spirit, as an aspect of God. Well, I actually will finish with this. Yeah, this is actually very good to add. So if I'm going to take this physical form, this being that's made out of mind, body, and spirit, and has this incredible computer and has this space to come from everything that I can experience in this reality, from a centered place that brings the most into it, to where I've got a constant reminder of where I am, what I should be doing, what I shouldn't be doing. This is just, this is the all-knowing that's right here. And then I've got this drive, this will to experience, to be in service. And we'll get into that once we get into the separation of divine feminine and divine masculine. But it's I will tell you, it is through service that we learn and grow and find joy. That is what it is. Now, I'm not putting limitations on that. What my daughter does in New York City as a model, and then working for the John Casablanca and what she does, and then the children, she is in service all the time, and she finds great joy in that, and great success, and great satisfaction, because she's in service. She's doing what she does it to the best she possibly can, because she doesn't want to waste time. So she's got this balance, as do the other divine ones that are in sort of my tight circle. There are not many people I know, I'll be honest, there are not many people I know that are in balance. Now, it doesn't mean we all don't get skewed constantly, and they don't get skewed. Yes, they do. But they don't lie to themselves, therefore they don't stay out of balance very long. Does that make sense? That's the key to all of this. Just don't close this gateway. Don't lie about anything. It's real. It sounds insane, but that's the key to all of it. Is don't lie. As soon as you don't lie, then you're open to all the intuition, all the light, all the knowing, everything. So it's sort of simple. It just takes some of us a long time to get there.